The FIFA World Cup is an international football competition contested by the senior men's national teams of the member associations of FIFA. The current champions are Argentina, who won their third title in December 2022. They join an elite list of nations who have won multiple World Cup trophies alongside their host country and year. Here's our complete guide to every winner of the FIFA World Cup from 1930 to 2022. Let's get into it.
1930, Uruguay 1934, Italy 1938, France 1950, Brasil 1954, Switzerland 1958, Sweden 1962, Chile 1966, England 1970, México 1964, West Germany 1968, Argentina 1982, Spain 1976, México 1990, Italy 1994, United States 1998, France 2002, South Korea and Japan 2006, Germany 2010, South Africa 2014, Brazil 2018, Russia and 2022, Qatar.
Now let's take a closer look at each tournament, starting with Uruguay 1930. The inaugural tournament saw just 13 teams compete, and the matches were played in two cities, Montevideo and Buenos Aires. The final was held at the 100,000-capacity Estadio Centenario, now known as the Estadio Gavalt de Peñarol. The Uruguayans had actually qualified for the final without playing a single match as the winners of the South American Championship in 1926 and 1927. In the final, they faced Argentina in front of over 90,000 spectators. This transatlantic clash proved to be an entertaining affair, with Uruguay prevailing 4-2 thanks to two goals from their legendary footballer and future manager of the national team, José Pedro Chiazzarini. The title of top scorer went to Argentina's Guillermo Stable, who scored 8 goals during the tournament. In 1934, the World Cup traveled to Italy, where the Azzurri hosted the second edition of the tournament. 4 years prior to this, they had finished as runners-up, and this time they would go all the way. They faced off against Czechoslovakia in the final, which took place at the Stadio Nazionale PNF in Rome. Over 55,000 fans witnessed Italy's 2-1 victory after extra time. Italy's opponents in the final were actually the defending champions from Uruguay, but they had been disqualified in the quarter-finals after fielding an ineligible player. The top scorer award went to Oldrich Nejedly from Czechoslovakia, who scored 5 goals. The 1938 tournament was held in France and saw Italy claim their third consecutive title. The final was played at Stade Olympique de Colombes near Paris, which had a capacity of over 50,000. Italy defeated Hungary 4-2 thanks to 2 goals from Italy's all-time leading World Cup scorer Giuseppe Meazza. The top scorer of the tournament was Leonidas from Brazil, who scored 7 goals. Brazil hosted the 1950 tournament, and the final was contested between the hosts and Uruguay. The final was part of a final group stage which also involved Sweden and Spain. Had this been a knockout match, then Brazil would have lost the game 2-1, but because it was part of a group stage, Uruguay retained the trophy, having amassed the most points. The top scorer of the tournament was Ademir from Brazil, who scored 8 goals. 4 years later, the World Cup headed to Switzerland for the first time, and the final was contested between the hosts and Hungary. This was one of the most exciting finals in World Cup history, with West Germany snatching victory in the dying moments of the match. The Hungarians dominated possession and had many chances to seal the deal, but ultimately succumbed to pressure and fatigue in the last few minutes. This final was notable as the last time Hungary and West Germany met on the pitch before they were reunited in 1990. Both teams would go on to meet in the final again 16 years later. Sweden hosted the 1958 tournament, which saw an up-and-coming Brazil side defeat the Swedes 5-2 in the final. This was the youngest Brazilian team to ever win the World Cup. At the age of 17 years and 236 days, Vava became the youngest player to score in a World Cup final. The top scorer of the tournament was France's Just Fontaine, who scored an incredible 13 goals. In 1962, Chile hosted the World Cup, and the final was contested between Brazil and Czechoslovakia. Brazil successfully defended their title with a 3-1 victory. The top scorer of the tournament was shared by 4 players, each of whom managed 4 goals. England hosted the 1966 World Cup, and in a tournament full of surprises, it was the 3 Lions who triumphed. In the final, they faced off against West Germany. With just seconds remaining in extra time, England were awarded a penalty which was slotted home by captain Bobby Moore. Moore is the only England player to have won the World Cup and to have captained his country to victory. He sadly passed away in 1993. Mexico hosted the 10th edition of the tournament in 1970, and in a repeat of the previous final, Brazil faced off against Italy. This final was much less controversial than the 1966 final, which was marred by a number of bad tackles. Brazil won the match 4-1. The top scorer of the tournament was Gerd Müller from West Germany, who scored 10 goals. 4 years later, West Germany hosted the World Cup and faced off against the Netherlands in the final. The Dutch dominated possession and created numerous chances, but it was the Germans who prevailed 2-1. Johan Cruyff from the Netherlands was named the player of the tournament. In 1978, Argentina hosted the World Cup for the first time. They faced off against the Netherlands in the final. It was another close encounter, but Argentina prevailed 3-1 after extra time. Mario Kempes from Argentina was both the player and top scorer of the tournament with 6 goals. Spain 1982 was the first time the World Cup had a third-place playoff. This was introduced following the recommendation of FIFA President Stanley Rouse, who suggested that there should be a medal for everyone. Paolo Rossi from Italy was the player and top scorer of the tournament with 6 goals. Mexico once again hosted the World Cup in 1986. This time they were joined by co-hosts USA and Canada. The final was contested between Argentina and West Germany. This was a back-and-forth affair with Argentina prevailing 3-2 thanks to a last-minute goal from substitute forward Enrique Barrero. Diego Armando Maradona from Argentina was named the player of the tournament. Italy hosted the 1990 World Cup, and in the final they faced off against the defending champions from Argentina. It was a very tight affair with neither team able to break the deadlock during extra time. The game remained goalless until the 107th minute, when a cross from the right was volleyed into the net by Italian defender Salvatore Schillaci. Schillaci won the Golden Boot as the top scorer of the tournament with 6 goals. The 1994 World Cup was held in the United States and was the first time the tournament was held in North America. This was also the first time the final went down to a penalty shootout. Brazil faced Italy in the final, which ended 0-0 after extra time. On penalties, Brazil won 3-2. Romario from Brazil was named the player of the tournament. France hosted the 1998 World Cup, and in the final, they faced Brazil. The French were victorious, winning the match 3-0. This was a surprise result as Brazil were the defending champions and were widely tipped to win the tournament. Davor Suker from Croatia won the Golden Boot as the top scorer of the tournament with 6 goals. South Korea and Japan co-hosted the 2002 World Cup, which was the first time 2 countries hosted the tournament. The final was contested between Brazil and Germany, which ended 2-0 to Brazil. Ronaldo from Brazil won the Golden Boot with 8 goals. Germany hosted the 2006 World Cup, and in the final they faced Italy. Once again, the match went to penalties, but this time it was Italy who triumphed, winning 5-3. Zinedine Zidane from France was named the player of the tournament, despite being sent off in the final for headbutting Marco Materazzi. South Africa hosted the 2010 World Cup, which was the first time the tournament was held in Africa. The final was contested between Spain and the Netherlands. After 120 minutes of football, the match was goalless, and it remained so after extra time. The first ever World Cup final to be decided on penalties went the way of Spain. Thomas Müller from Germany won the Golden Boot with 5 goals. Brazil hosted the 2014 World Cup, which was the first time the nation hosted the tournament since 1950. The final was contested between Germany and Argentina. The Germans started the match brightly and raced to a 4-0 lead within 30 minutes. Argentina fought back with 2 goals in the second half, but it wasn't enough, and Germany ran out 1-0 winners. James Rodriguez from Colombia won the Golden Boot with 6 goals. Russia hosted the 2018 World Cup, which was the first time a former Soviet republic hosted the tournament. France faced Croatia in the final. The French were convincing 4-2 winners. Luka Modric from Croatia won the Golden Ball as the player of the tournament. Finally, in 2022, Qatar became the first Arab nation to host the World Cup. Unfortunately, the reigning champions from France were unable to retain their title as they were defeated 3-3 by Argentina, who went on to win the match 4-2 on penalties. Lionel Messi from Argentina won the Golden Ball for the second time. That's all for this video. Thanks for watching.